Hey, what's up, you guys? All right, so what I wanted to demonstrate here is, first let me show I've got the IHP blog demo application that is described in the guide. And if you've worked through this, you know the layout of the files is you've got your controller folder, you've got your view folder. Under controller, you've got your let's say your posts controller and your comments controller. So all the actions for in the post controller are defined here, and then these kind of farm out to the different views. So under the view folder, you go to the posts folder, and then you have your different view files here. So this kind of reflects the way that MVC style frameworks are kind of lay out their views and their controller actions traditionally. So for example, ASP.NET Core, the framework for C# from Microsoft, used to offer, well, actually still does. I mean, you've got the MVC style of building the apps, but they also offer some, now there's a new approach called Razor Pages that comes with ASP.NET Core. So I will switch over to an example Razor Pages application. And so here, under the Pages folder, so instead of having the different, like a controllers folder and then a views folder, you have, like, let's say this is an application where you can look at like school courses, and here we're going to see kind of what would correspond to the different, I guess you could call them, they call them Razor Pages, right? So for example, for index, we're going to see the markup. The markup is in this file. It's in the Microsoft markup called like the Razor syntax, but parallel to that file for index, you have this kind of backend file, which is, I guess you would consider that like kind of like the action, what would traditionally go in the controller. So the nice thing about this is, everything that has to do with the courses page is under this folder, or underneath the courses pages, I guess you would say, goes under this folder, and then index is everything's right here. So instead of having to hop between like the controller file and say, okay, what happens for index, and then jump over here for the view, it's all right here. So the idea is, like, could you use this kind of a layout in IHP? And yeah, it looks like you can actually. So this is still the traditional layout, but what I'm going to do is here in Visual Studio Code, I'm going to go down to the switch branches. I'm going to go to, I have a branch here called Pages Layout. And let's see, now under the web folder, you'll see there's a Pages folder. And under Pages, you have comments and posts. So basically now, everything that has anything to do with posts is under here. Now you'll notice before we had the controller stuff for posts was in a controller file under the controller folder, but now we have a controller file under posts. So all the post related actions are defined here under the posts folder. And then of course, now your views are all underneath here. So that's how this is structured, and that's pretty cool. But the idea is, could we even go further? Because remember, if we look at the Razor Pages project, the backend code for the index is in a parallel file to the markup file, right here. So here's the markup file, and then here's like the backend file. So could we do something like that with IHP? And again, it looks like you can. If you, well, I'm going to switch branches here to another one called layout actions, and I'll just reset the view. Okay, so we still have the pages folder, but now if we go under posts, so okay, now let's look at our controller file. Much shorter. It's basically just calling out to these functions, and each of these functions now go in the corresponding folder. So for example, for let's do index, for example. Look under index now. So before we just had an index.hs file, but now we have an index folder, and we have a file called view. That's where the view goes now. But now we have an actions file as well, and in this case it's really simple action. So somebody might say, well, was it really necessary to factor that out from here, because it's so simple, right? But for example, we do have another one like let's say new. If we look at the actions here, that's actually a more substantial amount of code, and this previously was all going in the controller. So the nice thing about this is it's all with, it's isolated in this particular module. So anyways, I just wanted to demonstrate that you can structure things in this way. Like I said, if you ever come from a background of Razor Pages and ASP.NET Core, you can do that with IHP. With ASP.NET Core, they used to, like I said, everything was MVC style once upon a time, and then Microsoft kind of added onto the ASP.NET Core framework and said, hey, now you can structure things using Razor Pages. But so the cool thing about IHP being built just in pure Haskell and simple, is organizing code through modules. You can do this yourself. You can rearrange things however you'd like. There's no magic here. I didn't have to edit the framework code or anything like that. Just everything was edited here. If we look at this front controller file, it references, the post controller and the comments controller the way it did before, except here on the imports, instead of importing from from a module in that previous directory with a previous layout, now it's referencing these. So like for pages, it's referencing web pages post controller. So basically, after moving things around, you just update your imports and everything just kind of works. So anyways, just wanted to demonstrate this alternative layout approach. I'm not saying it's necessarily idiomatic, and if you built something like this, the IHP community might scratch their heads and and say, hey, why aren't you doing things in the default layout? But it's just going to show that you can do things this way. Okay, thanks. Bye.